You're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day, or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help. Good evening, everyone, and welcome into this edition of the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. I'm your host, Graeme Forsyth. Tonight's edition of the show is brought to you by Anada, Fabricland, Winkler, Evolve Green, Caisse Financial Group, and TOVI Hockey. In tonight's edition of the show, I'll be sitting down with number 5 of the Saskatoon Generals in the U15 AA Hockey League of the Saskatchewan AA Hockey League, Raiden Zacharias. Raiden is an 06 forward from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, eligible for the upcoming 2021 WHL draft in December, and Raiden has decided to commit to the Saskatoon Blazers for the 2021-2022 season to play in the Saskatchewan Male AAA Hockey League. In his last 2 seasons, he's had a chance to play at the U15 AA level with the Generals this season, and back in his rookie season in 2019-2020, he played for the best team in the U15 AA League with the Saskatoon Stallions. I had a chance to ask Raiden about his 2 years playing at the U15 AA level, his commitment to the Saskatoon Blazers, and much more in this week's edition of the Prospect Show with number 5 of the Saskatoon Generals, Raiden Zacharias, here on ASTV Productions.
Wow!
Joining me now is Raiden Zacharias, 06 forward, committed to the Saskatoon Blazers. And Raiden, you know, you're going to have a chance to play with a great team next season, a great organization. Just first off, tell me why you decided to commit to Saskatoon for the 2021-2022 season.
For me, it all started first year Pee Wee when they just started coming after all the 06s, and they treated us like we were part of the team. And from there, it was like, yeah, I want to play for this team.
Yeah, for sure. And it's great that, you know, you're going to have a chance to play with so much talent. I mean, I talked about it in the last episode with another commit that committed there, and Riley Ash. Just how excited are you to unite with all this great talent that they're bringing in, and all the players that will be returning from this year's roster to next year's?
Pretty much all of us have played before, so it'll be like just getting back together and proving everyone how good we can be together.
And you're going to have a chance to stay in Saskatoon, of course, which is awesome, as you are a Saskatoon-born player. Just how big is that for you, getting to play potentially your next 3 years of hockey in your hometown of Saskatoon?
It's pretty cool just being able to be close to family for the next 3 years, potentially, and yeah.
Can you talk about the importance of family, just how they've been able to help you along your hockey journey so far?
Yeah, they've had a pretty big impact on my hockey career, just getting me to places, driving me to tournaments, practices, games, all that.
And, you know, a big moment for you was when you had a chance to sign those papers. Just what was it like, pen in hand, paper right in front of you, you sign your name, you sign that contract to commit to Saskatoon?
Oh yeah, it was pretty cool. Not gonna lie, I was shaking pretty good. It was kind of nervous, but
Yeah.
yeah, I got it done.
Would you say that's one of the coolest moments you've had up to this point in your time playing hockey?
Yeah, just getting there, signing the papers, holding up the jersey. It's pretty cool.
Now, in terms of just what you'll be bringing to this team, can you speak about just what type of player that Saskatoon is going to get from Raiden Zacharias?
Complete 200-foot forward, more of a playmaker than a shooter, but uses the shot whenever I have the chance.
And can you speak about just your 2 years in U15 AA? I mean, you put up great numbers, over a point per game in your career. You were top 10 in the points in the league last season. I'm not sure where you were this season. I'm sure you were probably top 10 as well. Just can you talk about just how your skills have developed throughout the past 2 seasons to get to where you are at this point in your hockey career?
I got to give a lot of it to my teammates and line mates, just pushing me to be better, and then skill coaches and just pushing to be better and better every day.
Now, let's talk about just what you've been doing since, of course, the season shut down. Of course, you've had a chance to train with the team. I'm assuming you had a chance to go to practices, even though the circumstances were a bit different than usual with the amount of players you can have on each end of the ice. Just it seems like a lot of people have been treating this like an extended off season. Would you say that throughout the time since the league got shut down, you were treating it like an extended off season?
Yeah, like I've been going to the gym a lot more than being on the ice, just with all the COVID, getting on the ice whenever I can. But yeah, just lots of practices.
And what have been the things that you've been working on in the gym?
I've been trying to get a stronger stride and quicker with my feet.
So do you feel like at this point, just do you think that those are things that you're going to be looking to continue to improve upon as the off season continues here?
Yeah, I'm always just trying to get faster, stronger, and get to the next level as soon as I can.
And what about just the on ice sessions that you've been able to have? Just what you've been able to work on? As it's been mostly skill based stuff?
Yeah, just pretty much all skills. Like, yeah, just the regular.
And last question here before we go to our first commercial break. Just obviously, you talked about how you feel you're that complete player. Just talk about what you feel that is going to be necessary for you to improve on to get to that next level of playing in the U18 AAA League.
Get stronger along the boards. Be able to make a better first pass, and always find an open teammate.
Back here on this edition of the Prospect Show with Raiden Zacharias, forward of the Saskatoon Generals and the U15 AA League of the Saskatchewan AA Hockey League. And I've just been talking to Raiden about his commitment to the Saskatoon Blazers. And I thought about a few more questions regarding your commitment to Saskatoon. But before we get into anything else, just talking about the discussions you had with the coaching staff before making that decision to commit there.
Yeah, they were open about everything. Like, do you want to play here? Like, what your role is going to be and all that. And that was just a big yeah for me.
In terms of, how excited are you to be able to go up against just players that are going to be much older than you in that first season?
It'll be a lot different playing against kids that are 17 going on 18 from just playing the 05s ever since. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course you're going to be eligible for the WHL draft coming up in December. Just how excited are you to continue to keep building your draft stock leading up to the draft come the fall of this year?
It's pretty cool. I'm just trying to get as high as I can, and I go where I go and play where I play.
And have you had a chance to have any representation, just being able to talk to any teams at this point, or is it just kind of you're still looking for an advisor?
I'm with Chris Moulton of Wasserman Hockey Group.
Nice. And how has that been, just having that experience of being represented by him?
Yeah, he knows a lot about the league, so he just kind of tells me what's going on, and he knows a lot, so that helps.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And before we move on to talking about your last 2 seasons of playing in the U15 AA League, I kind of want to get to know you. Just some fun facts about Raiden Zacharias. So, just starting off with this one, growing up, was hockey always that sport that you played, or do you play any other sports?
It was always my number one, but I used to play baseball, and that was the number two, but was never as close to hockey.
Mm, for sure, for sure. And baseball is it's a fun sport. I used to honestly not like watching it very much because I found it a bit boring. But as the years have gone on, as I have a girlfriend that played softball, it's kind of forced me to kind of like it that much more. And it's an entertaining game at some points, especially when some home runs are hit for sure and some nice plays are made. But could you speak about just how baseball helped you along the years into just taking some skills from that sport into your hockey?
A big one for me was hand-eye coordination, and just made made it that much easier to hit the puck out of the air sometimes, and yeah.
Yeah, and hand-eye coordination is probably one of the biggest, uh, skills that you could take away from baseball and use in hockey for sure. Were you a player in baseball that was a big hitter, or are you more of that player that would be more impactful on the defensive side of things?
I was 50-50, I'd say, so
Yeah.
I had my times.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. And would you say that in terms of which sport you find is harder, what sport would you say is harder out of the two, hockey or baseball?
For sure, hockey. There's a lot more to go into it with skating, shooting, and all that.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot more that you have to do in hockey. And I mean you're you're skating with knives on the bottom of your feet. I don't think many people realize that, which is crazy. That's awesome. So in terms of just your favorite pastime, what would you say is your favorite hobby?
Probably golf or fishing.
Yeah, golf or fishing. You have a cabin?
Yeah, just up at Emma Lake.
Yeah. So would you say you go fishing quite often out there?
Yeah, probably almost every weekend.
That's pretty awesome, and I'm sure that you catch a lot of fish.
Depends on the day.
Depends on the day. Is there a certain spot that you go to where the fish are a bit easier to come by?
Yeah, I got two.
Too. I don't think you're gonna be telling us those spots, but
Oh,
yeah, no, no, it's Raiden's secret spots where to catch his fish. That's awesome, and I mean, I go to Falcon Lake, which is a cabin in Manitoba, and there's a golf course. Is there a golf course at your cabin that you go to?
yeah, it's just your regular golf course. So.
Nice, nice. And it being a regular golf course, would you say that it's your pretty standard course of shooting a good
Yeah,
score? Yeah, yeah. And just what would you say is probably your strongest aspect in your golf game,
my driving game.
your driving game?
Yeah,
So if you're on the tee, how far is that ball going?
uh, maybe a good 300, 350.
Wow. That's insane. So it carries in the air for that long, or do you get a bounce?
Sometimes a good bounce, sometimes just a good hit.
Yeah, it just crushes it. Hey, that's awesome. What would you say is probably something that you're gonna want to work on moving forward in your golf life in terms of your game?
Probably chipping or putting.
Chipping and putting. Yeah. Yeah, chipping or putting, it's a good skill to have for sure because it's going to make it easier to score higher if you're able to chip and putt effectively for sure. So, moving away from that, just what would you say is probably your favorite pregame meal?
I'd probably have to say chicken and rice.
And chicken and rice, that's awesome. You get the protein in there and the carbs as well. Have you always gone with that as your pregame meal?
Yeah, that's always been my favorite. So
Yeah, that's awesome. When I was playing hockey, my pregame meal, my go-to would always be my mom's scrambled eggs. And let me tell you, it was probably the best scrambled eggs that I'll ever have in my life. So I'm assuming that the chicken and rice that you have is pretty top notch.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And in terms of you got your pregame meal, but what about the type of music you play before just getting fired up for a game, or are you the type of guy that doesn't really listen to music before a game?
I just listen whatever's playing and just go
Yeah,
with it.
yeah. So you don't have a set playlist for yourself or anything. You just kind of go with what the boys are listening to.
Yeah, just kind of go with it.
Yeah, that's great. Is there some music in the dressing room that's been played where you're like, man, this is a banger of a song. This is getting me fired up. And then there's other times where this song's okay, but it's not so great.
Yeah, there's always the one guy who has the good songs and then the other guy who has the terrible ones. So
Ah, I see, I see. So what would be the type of music that you think is the good stuff?
probably the hip hop or rap. That's what gets you going.
Yeah, the hip hop or rap, and what about the other side of things, the music that's not so good?
Uh I'm not a big like heavy metal or any of
No.
that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, to each their own, right? And I'd say that hip hop is probably transitioning into that more of that pump up over heavy metal in the sport today, in my opinion. Would you say that you have a favorite rapper that you've heard?
No, I just kind of listen to whatever, and if it's
Yeah.
good, I'll listen to it. If it's not, I'll skip it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's yeah, that's great. That's great. And do you have a certain pregame ritual for yourself that like you follow strictly before every game?
No, just tape a stick, and yeah, I've just been doing that for a while.
Yeah, that you can never go wrong with that for sure. You gotta get that fresh tape job before you go back on the ice, and I'm sure that there's been times where you've taped your stick before the game, and then man, you probably didn't want to tape again after because you had such a big game, especially this year in that game where you put up 5 goals in one game, which is pretty crazy. So in terms of just places that you've been to with your team, just in terms of just places that you've traveled to. Has your team's done a lot of traveling throughout the past 2 seasons? I know this year with COVID, you guys couldn't really do any traveling, but what about in 2019, 2020?
I think we went to Vancouver with our Husky prospects team, and just the usual like Manitoba, Alberta, BC.
Mm, that's awesome getting to go to Vancouver. I feel like that's a pretty nice city to go to. Was there a place that you went to and you're like, man, I got to go back there someday?
Yeah, we went to the Vancouver Aquarium, and that was pretty cool.
That's pretty awesome. Had a chance to see some pretty cool animals.
Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome. So you're a big golf guy, a big fisher. You played baseball before. Obviously, your favorite sport being hockey. Is there a sport out of those four that you say you'd probably like watching the most, or is there a sport that you haven't played that you'd say that is more entertaining than the rest?
I don't mind watching some basketball, but hockey is
Yeah.
probably my favorite to watch still.
Yeah, for sure. And basketball, I don't watch the NBA really, but March Madness is always a time of year where I watch some nice college hoops. Are you a big college hoops guy?
I didn't really watch it, but I made a few brackets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd those brackets go? Because I know for everyone it was disaster on the first day.
Yeah, mine were done on the first round.
Yeah. What was the one that sealed it for you?
The Tennessee loss. That one kind of
Oh,
costed mine.
yeah. Yeah. And I know for a lot of people that Ohio State matchup, Oral Roberts coming in and beating them, that was a huge one as well. And it's always crazy in March Madness how many upsets there are, but making brackets is always so fun. What would you say is probably your favorite team to watch in the NHL?
Probably so far this year, I'd have to say Toronto. Just how electric Matthews and Marner have been together, and the team they've brought together.
Yeah, they added some good vets in the off season with Jumbo Joe and Wayne Simmons for sure, and bring a guy in like Nick Foligno, getting a good leader, getting some depth and some grit as well. It's been great, and yeah, you're right. Austin Matthews has been absolutely insane this year, along with Marner. Would you say that you know? One of those players on that team is your favorite, or would you go with another player in the league?
Favorite is probably either Matthews or McKinnon.
Yeah, Matthews or McKinnon. Those are some great choices. Would you say that you model your game after one of those two players, or you try to?
I try to go with Matthews, but I don't shoot as much as him, so that's
Yeah,
what kind of pushes me back.
yeah. Never, never a bad thing to try to strive to be like Austin Matthews. Try to take stuff from his game and implement it into yours. The guy is absolutely nuts this year. He's run away with the Rocket Richard race for sure with 36 goals, I believe, which is crazy in a season like this. Last question before we go to break, just in terms of your favorite hockey memory throughout your lifetime. I know you said that signing with Saskatoon is definitely going to be one of your favorite memories, but would you say there's a memory that you've looked back on so far in your career and you can point at that one saying, yeah, that's my favorite hockey memory?
Winning the Grand Tour in Regina last year with our Stallions team.
Yeah, that's great. We're going to get into that in just a moment, but first we're going to go to another commercial break in today's edition of the show. I've been joined by number 5 of the Saskatoon Generals U15 AA team, Raiden Zacharias, on this edition of the Prospect Show. Stick with us. I'll be back with Raiden in just a moment, but first, a word from one of our sponsors.
Why go solar? Solar is better than ever. Our revolutionary design and inverter equipment with the latest in solar panel technology for the ultimate in-home and business security. That's right, I said security. Grid security and security of your home are linked. Fortify your future today with a battery backup system. No maintenance, quiet running. Did you know in Manitoba, grid-connected, off-grid, and battery backup systems are 100% right off in the year you purchase for any company or farm? Do you want to back up your internet, keep your tills running, and the lights on? We can install a system that is right for you with battery backup fully capable of taking on all those essential loads and keeping you running. When you call our experts at Evolve Green, ask about getting your free energy audit today. Call or email today to find out what system works best for you. 1-866-5EVOLVE or support@evolvegreen.ca. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.evolvegreen.ca.
Back on the Prospect Show with number 5 of the Saskatoon Generals U15 AA team, Raiden Zacharias, and I've been talking to Raiden so far about his commitment to the Saskatoon Blazers. I see he's wearing that nice hat too, which is awesome. Always nice to see someone representing their team, especially since they recently committed there. And yeah, I've just been talking to Raiden about some of his favorite things as well, which was pretty awesome. Here's some of his favorite things. So we're gonna dive into your last few seasons of playing hockey now in the U15 AA League, and we're gonna start off with this season. You put up 13 points in 4 games, 6 goals, 7 assists, 0 penalty minutes. So you're a clean player. Just What would you say was the biggest part of you having the type of start to your season you had this year?
Just kind of as soon as our first game, I just kind of got comfortable, and then from there it was lights out, and then yeah.
And of course, you had a chance to have a huge season from the year before. How would you say that your skills from from the season in 2019-2020 translated over and got better in your second season this year?
Yeah, it made me a better player and made me able to make a bigger difference in the league, but it got shut down, so that kind of put a
Mhm.
stop to it.
Yeah, pretty unfortunate because you're on pace to have a monstrous season this year, and in your 4 games, you were a consistent player, and you put up 3 games with at least 2 points or more. A big game coming against the Prince Albert Venice House Pirates on November 15th, where you put up 5 goals, 1 assist. Can you just speak about how you were able to come out and be so consistent and give your team consistent production this season?
Just the practices and kind of put the team together, and it all just came together eventually, and yeah.
And could you speak about just the talent this team had this season? Of course, you guys went 3-0-1, no regulation losses, which is great. Could you speak about just what type of team this Saskatoon Generals team was this year?
We were more of a second year team. Like we only had 307s, I think. So we had lots of depth and heavy second year team. So
You feel like if you guys were able to play the full season, that experience, that depth would have made you guys a strong contender for winning the league championship this season?
yeah, I think it would have taken us pretty far in the playoffs, but you never know when you get up against strong teams from out of town. So
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And can you speak about just the coaching staff this season, how they were for you guys?
yeah, it was pretty good having a non-parent coach. So they didn't really like uh yeah, they were good. They did a lot with the practices we could, and yeah, it was pretty good.
And could you speak about just the situations that they put you out in? I'm assuming that you were able to play special teams this season.
Yeah, we had a pretty good power play and penalty kill, and that got us some games, that's for sure.
Yeah, and in that 5 goal game that you had one of those goals on the power play. Can you speak about just what type of player that teams are going to get from you on the power play moving forward? Just the type of player you're able to be on that man advantage.
I could play anywhere on the power play, in front of the net, in the middle, on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
And what would you say is your favorite spot out of those to be in on the power play?
probably in the middle, just being able to take that one time from the half wall or give it to the half wall and they shoot.
And last season, you had 35 goals, 52 assists. You put up a nice amount of goals. You put up a nice amount of goals again this season. Can you just speak about what type of shooter you are, what type of scorer you are? Are you more of that player that's going to go in and snipe them, or are you more of that player that kind of goes to those dirty areas and maybe a player that puts himself in good positions to receive the pass in the offensive zone?
Uh, Probably all of them, because a lot is just going to the right position and teammates finding me, and then others just snipe, and then some of you get it in front of the net and just bang it in.
And what would you say was probably the biggest part of your game that took that next step this season?
Being a second year and learning from the second years last year, and just l- them teaching us how to be a leader and carrying it on to this year.
And speaking of being a leader, were you able to wear a letter this season?
Yeah, I got the captaincy this year.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome. I'm sure that you were so happy to receive that honor. I'm sure that it didn't change much. It didn't change your role in the room, but what was that like getting to wear the C this season?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Just last year, learning from everyone, and then taking it to this year and trying to be that big role model that our second years were last year, and yeah, just carried on to them.
Yeah, for sure. And you've spoken so much in like the last like minute about or the last like answer about just how the second years, last season really showed you the way and stuff, and how you felt like obviously you feel like you matured a lot this season. Could you speak about just in what areas you matured in this season as a player out there?
Probably my communication with teammates and just giving someone or saying the right thing at the right time.
And just for you, for your team this season, you guys dropped your last game of the season that you guys played in overtime. A pretty successful season for you guys in those 4 games, only dropping that one game, it being in overtime. Can you just speak about just how this team was able to come out each and every game and put up the type of performances you guys were able to put up?
I think everyone kind of knew their role, and we stuck to it, and that just kind of won us the games.
Could you speak about just the mental preparation you would put into games this season before to get in the right mindset of getting out there and performing at your best?
Stretch and listening to music, and then before games, warm ups, and just thinking like I know what I have to do and help my teammates out. And yeah,
And speaking of warm-ups, do you have a certain type of routine that you do out there on the ice before, the puck drops in your warm-ups?
sometimes I just kind of go stretch by myself and listen to music. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Well, we're going to dive into your season last year coming up here on this edition of the Prospect Show. I've been joined by Raiden Zacharias, number 5 of the Saskatoon Generals. I'll be right back with him on this edition of the Prospect Show after this break. Back on this edition of the Prospect Show with number 5 of the Saskatoon Generals U15 AA team for this season, Raiden Zacharias. And I've been talking to Raiden, of course, about his commitment to Saskatoon to play Blazers hockey for the 2021-2022 season. Talked about some of his favorite things, as well as his season this year with the Saskatoon Generals. Now, we're going to move into just your last season before this year with the Saskatoon Stallions. And, a huge year for you. You put up 87 points in 31 games played. And I saw it on Elite Prospects that you had a chance to play 12 games with that team in the 2018-2019 season. Can you speak about your experience playing with that team so early on in your career?
Oh yeah, it was the first few games. It was pretty nervous going up against kids that are that much bigger than you, and then as it went on, got comfortable, and yeah.
What would you say was probably the biggest thing to get used to? You'd say it was probably going against older, faster competition?
Going from Pee Wee and having no hitting experience as a yeah.
Yeah. And what was that experience like, just going into your first game of playing at that bantam level when you were call up, just of getting used to the hitting?
Yeah, the first period it was kind of scary, and then after that, I just got comfortable, and I think I ended up scoring that first game.
And what was that like in your first game, being able to score your first ever bantam double A goal?
It was pretty cool. I was surprised myself. I didn't really expect to go out there and score, but yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, and you were a player that showed a lot of promise in those 12 games, putting up 8 goals for 8 points. Can you just speak about how you were able to get comfortable and kind of find your groove with that team?
It starts in the dressing room, just everyone kind of like welcoming you to the team, and then you just kind of gel with everyone. You find your line, and yeah, that just stuck with it.
And did you have a chance to play a lot of minutes in those games that you played in?
There was some games where like they would be down, or we had like 8 forwards, and the coach trusted me, and he sent me out there sometimes.
And how huge was that for you, just with you being a call up, being able to get that type of trust from this coaching staff?
It made me feel pretty comfortable, and I ended up having the same coach with the Stallions for my first year bantam, so that took over pretty good.
You spoke about the just how it starts in the dressing room. Can you just speak about how the players on that team were able to make you feel like one of the boys?
Just letting you know that you deserve to play on this team, and just letting you feel that welcome, and yeah, it was awesome.
And did you have a chance to play with some of the vets on the team in your time playing with them in those 12 games?
Yeah, I got to play with guys like Hudson Malinowski, who's on the Blazers for this coming year,
Yeah.
and yeah.
That's awesome. How excited are you to reunite with Hudson coming up this year?
Yeah, it'll be pretty cool just reliving that experience from that long ago and taking it into the next year.
And after your 12 games were done, just what were the message? What was the message from the coaching staff to you, just knowing that you probably have a good chance of making the team in the next season, where you played a full season, putting up those 87 points? Just what was the advice that they gave you for you to, work on things to improve upon coming into your first year playing in the league?
Yeah, the coaching staff had a lot of experience, so whatever they told me, I kind of just took it and stuck with it. And then as it went on, it really paid off and put up the 87 points, and that really showed that the experience they have.
Let's move into that 2019-2020 season now. Of course, putting up 87 points in 31 games played, putting up 35 goals, 52 assists, 10 penalty minutes. It seems like you've been a pretty clean player throughout your career, which has been, I think that's always valuable, to have a type of player that doesn't really get into the penalty box. Just speak about just how you've been able to stay clean out there as a player.
Lay the big hit whenever I can, just make sure it's clean, and then
Yeah.
yeah.
So in your first year of experiencing full body contact, just having those experiences of playing in those 12 games before even playing a full season in the league, how much would you say that benefited you in your first season?
It made me feel somewhat like I was a second year, just having the experience that I did and taking it into that year.
And for you, you put up a great stat line. The team was the best team in the league. 26 wins, 3 losses, 0 ties, 2 overtime losses for a total of 54 points. You guys were first in the North Division, of course, in terms of like total goals for on the team. You guys had 250, first in the North, first in the league, and you guys were a pretty outstanding defensive team too, with 83 goals against, which was second least in the North, third least in the league. Could you just speak about how this team's defense on both ends of the spectrum, in terms of just the forwards and the defense, the defensive core, were able to go up against the best teams in the league and shut them down?
We practiced a lot of defense, and what we did in practices really carried into games, and that helped us win a lot.
Could you speak about how your defensive game really improved in your first season playing in the league with the Stallions?
Just learning from the more defensive forwards and telling them or them telling us how to be, where to be, and yeah.
And in terms of the team's roster, was this a more experienced team, or was this a team that was on the younger side of things?
I think we were on the younger side, but that year it didn't really matter since we played the way we played, and yeah.
Yeah, and how nice was that to know that you guys weren't as experienced as some teams, but you were able to come out and have that type of season that you guys did, being the best team in the league on paper?
Yeah, it was awesome. The team we had was awesome. The coaching we had was awesome, and yeah.
Going back to your game in the defensive zone, could you speak about just how your IQ, your physicality, and your skating really allowed you to do the things you did in the defensive zone?
Just covering the right guy at the right time, blocking shots when I have to, making that good first pass off the wall, and laying the body when I can.
And you had a chance to play with a player in Roger McQueen, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that like, being able to play with a player like him? And you're going to be reuniting come this season coming up in 2021, 2022 with the Blazers. Just could you speak about just what type of player alongside with you, what type of duo you guys were able to be? I'm assuming you guys were playing on the same line together.
Yeah, it was me, Roger, and Tyson Yaremko, who also
Yeah.
signed with Blazers. But yeah, we just all gelled together, and we all knew our roles. So just yeah.
And what do you say was probably the biggest threat on that line for you guys when you put all of your skill sets together? The chemistry was obviously there. You guys knew your roles, but what would you say made this line so dangerous when it came down to it?
How deadly we were in the offensive zone, and just being able to find each other that easily, not being able to get pushed off the puck.
Could you speak about the situations you were put in that first season? Were you playing on special teams like power play and PK, or was it only PP, or maybe only PK?
Yeah, it was penalty kill, power play, going out in overtime, shootouts, all that.
Could you speak about the type of player you are on the penalty kill?
I like blocking shots most of the time, so I usually get down and take it, and then get it down, change.
And of course, like, you got put out in overtime situations, put out in shootouts. Could you just speak about how those things have been valuable for you in terms of just building that clutch part of your game, being able to go out there and be relied upon?
Yeah, like when I first get out there, it's pretty nervous, so you just focus and know what you have to do, and then yeah, just finish it.
And you've talked about how there's been a lot of nerves for you in situations like coming up and playing as an underage, getting called up in that 2018-19 season. Of course, the nerves of going out in a shootout, they'll always be there. But how would you say that you've been able to handle the nerves throughout the years of playing hockey in situations like that?
I think it's paid off since I haven't missed a shootout yet,
Yeah.
and overtime's I've been over 50%. So
That's awesome. So you're an effective player in those high pressured situations. And I gotta ask you, do you have a go-to shootout move that you go to?
yeah, but I can't say it on here. That just give it away.
I see, I see. You can't even give us a hint if it's a deke or it's more of a shot.
I usually like to shoot more.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll leave it out there at that. We don't want anyone to know your secrets because, of course, like you said, you haven't missed in any shootouts so far, which is pretty incredible. Let's speak about you in the offensive zone. Obviously, that line you were on with Roger and just the line you played on was, deadly. It was a deadly line. Just you and Roger tore it up, and just the team was so good. Could you speak about just your offensive game and what really stood out in that first season?
My passing ability really took off, and Roger's shot really finished it. So yeah, it was a perfect duo.
What would you say made this team so potent on the offensive side of things?
Everyone wasn't afraid to shoot, or everyone knew where everyone else was. So it just kind of made it that much easier in the offensive zone.
Could you describe your game in the offensive zone? Just what type of player you are in the zone?
I'm always looking for the first pass to give someone, and then I'll always go to the open areas and try finish in it if I can.
How was your shot in that first year compared to this season in terms of just the accuracy and the power?
I've definitely gotten a lot stronger and a lot more accurate over the years, so that's really helped it.
Could you speak about just your playmaking ability? I'm assuming that it just stems from the IQ that you have, your high hockey IQ.
Yeah, that's probably where it comes from.
Yeah, yeah. And could you speak about just your hands or your hands on are your hands pretty filthy, disgusting, or would you say that's something that you're still working on?
Yeah, I'd say they're good, but I'm still trying to work on them and get them much better.
Yeah, you can never be satisfied with your skills. And I think that with you being able to know that you need to continue working on stuff and get better, that's great that you're not satisfied with where you're at. Is there a place in your backyard or in your area where you go to train at to just improve skills like your shot and your hands?
I have a little home gym and a big shooting area in my backyard, so that helps.
That's great. Have you always had a chance to have that shooting area, or is it something that your parents recently built for you over the years?
Yeah, we built it last summer, so that's kind of what made it that much better for this year and going on.
Yeah, that's sweet. What you'd say it's a pretty nice shooting area. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It does the job.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great. So, in terms of just obviously you got the shot, the playmaking ability, you got the hands. You're great in the shootout. You can be put out in almost any situation and be effective for this team. Can you speak about what type of player you are in the corners, just in terms of just puck battles?
I'm pretty strong in the corners, so that helps me win a lot of them. But if I can't, then back check as hard as I can and get it back in the offensive zone.
For sure. And just yeah, it's always great to be able to be strong in the corners. Obviously, winning puck battles is so huge and one of the biggest parts in the game of for you guys to regain offense and stuff like that. But let's move into playoffs now. The short playoffs that you guys were able to have. You guys were able to play 4 games in the playoffs, and for you, you put up 2 goals, 3 assists for 5 points in 4 playoff games. So after the type of season you were able to have in the regular season, putting up 87 points in 31 games. For you to continue that consistency in the playoffs, just how was the team able to come out first off and have the type of playoffs that you guys were able to have in those 4 games?
We knew we had to carry on the season we had into playoffs, and it really paid off since we were in the next round and then it got shut down, so that sucked.
Yeah, definitely unfortunate with just the type of season that you guys were having, with you guys being the number 1 team, not only in your division, but in the whole league. And I got to ask you about that with how this team was playing, with the expectations that were being built up throughout the season. Would you say that you guys felt pressure at all to, we got to win, or this season is kind of a bust, or was it kind of like just go out and play our game and see what happens?
We always just went out there, played our game, and then we were confident all the time, so that really helped us win some games.
And you were effective in playoffs, putting up 2 goals, 3 assists in those 4 games. How would you say that your game is built to be effective in playoff hockey?
Playoffs are always exciting, any league, so that really kind of helps you like focus a little bit more and know what's in stake for the championship.
And for you, I'm assuming that the preparation stays the same from regular season to playoffs in terms of just what you do before the games to get ready to go out there and play.
Yeah, just always knowing that this is a little bit more important, since if you lose that one game, you could be out of the playoffs. So
Yeah, for sure. And, it seemed like it was working pretty well for you, just with the type of season you were able to put up and the type of playoffs you were able to put up. I'd say that, stick to the type of rituals and stuff that you do before the game, because it's been working. It's been working for sure for you. Just talking about the regular season once again, what did you feel was probably something that got better in your game as the season started to progress?
probably my shooting, just being able to use it that much more and get it that much better helped.
And would you say that coming into the season, with you having the experience of playing in the league as a call-up the season before, would you say that you were able to get a faster start than some out there in terms of just putting up points and just getting used to the game?
Yeah, I think it really helped me, and then I just tried like helping the younger kids and the kids who weren't as experienced and helping them.
And you were a consistent player this season. Would you say that consistency was there in those 31 games in your first season of playing?
Yeah, but there was the games where you wouldn't get that point, and it was like, oh, come on, but didn't really let it get you down. Just went out there and pumped them the next game.
So we're going to end the interview soon here, but I got to ask you this question before. I mean, with your success in the AA League, the U15 AA League, you're looking to raise your stock even more coming into that season with the Blazers coming up in the fall of this year. What would you say is your goals heading into your first season in the AAA U18 League?
It's always been a dream to win the Max tournament and go to the Telus, and that would be pretty cool. And then win the league, obviously. So.
Welcome back to the Prospect Show on ASTV Productions. Of course, I was joined tonight by number 5 of the Saskatoon Generals and 2021-2022 Saskatoon Blazers commit Raiden Zacharias. I want to thank him for hopping on in this week's episode and being the guest on the show tonight. I want to thank you, the viewer for tuning in tonight. And I also want to thank our sponsors in Pure Anada, Fabricland, Winkler, Evolve Green, Caisse Financial Group, and TOVI Hockey for sponsoring tonight's episode. I'll be back on the network next Friday night at 8 p.m. Central Daylight Time for another edition of the Prospect Show here on ASTV Productions on Facebook, or you can also catch it on our website at astvproductions.com. But until next Friday, folks, I've been your host of the Prospect Show, Graeme Forsyth, signing off now. Have a wonderful rest of your Friday night. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, and also happy Mother's Day to all the great mothers in the world. And until I see you next Friday, this is Graeme Forsyth signing off. Have a good one.